Hello everyone. Today I'm going to answer many of the questions that you've had about how to make a standard log cabin block using one of our log cabin trim tools. This is the block, just standard log cabin, 1-inch finished strips, 2.5-inch or 2-inch finished square. This is the log cabin trim tool duo that we're going to use. As you can see, you have the option with this particular tool of doing standard log cabins. Here's your 3 varieties that you could make. Here is a skinny log cabin strips, and here is a combination of wide and skinny. So this tool will let you do all of that, but for today what we're really going to show you is just the basic log cabin block that we're going to make. Everything you need is right here. You're going to have to cut 1 3/4 inch wide strips, and your center square that you're going to cut is 2.5 inches. So if you forget that, you've always got that printed right here on the ruler. So let's get started. So our first step is to take that 2.5 inch square that we've cut, and we're going to sew one of our strips onto one side. Now, each one of these log cabin rounds is going to have 4 logs. So this is your first log. Now we do have a cheat sheet available that shows you how to pre-cut the sizes for each of your logs, and that is available on the Creative Grids website. So what we're going to show you here is you're going to add your first log. Then you're going to come in and you're going to add your second log, your pre-cut log on there. If you're not using pre-cut logs, let's just tell you right now, this could be a full-length strip, and you would still sew down the side and then trim off your strip. Flip it over and press, okay? You're always going to flip it over and press after each of your steps. So we've added our second log on here. We've pressed it off to the side. Now, pressing can be with your fingernail, finger pressing as they call it, or you can use an iron. Then we're always going to rotate our block. You want your logs to go in a clockwise direction. So you just spin your block counterclockwise and add your next log. So we're going to add our next log, and we're going to stitch our 1/4 inch seam and press it open, okay? Once you've pressed that open, again, this is how it was. You added your log, pressed it open. You're going to again rotate counterclockwise and add your strip in a clockwise fashion. So here is your 4th strip. Now, notice we've got 2 lights and 2 darks. So what we have here is, by the time we press this one open, we're then going to have our 4 logs. This is considered a round, okay? So what you have is 2 lights, 2 darks, and that makes your round. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go in and you're going to trim. So I'm looking at this ruler and I'm looking on the standard log cabin, the standard versus the skinny. Okay, that's the difference. This is the standard square, and I'm going to line that standard square up right on that center square. As you can see now, the block sticks out to the side a little bit. I'm going to trim off both sides here. Oops. And then I'm going to spin my block around, going to line up my center square again, and trim the other 2 sides. Now, if you will notice, these lines also will line up on your other seam lines. So you have the ability to line up with more than just the center square. You can line up with many of your other seam lines. Now I'm going to trim the other 2 sides as well. So you're pretty much thinking as you're sewing and trimming that you are going to add 4 logs and trim. Because now we're going to go to round 2 and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to add 4 logs and trim. That is pretty much the basis that you're going to have for every single round. Here is the round we just sewed and trimmed, okay? Now we're going to start with our next log. Where do you add your next log, you ask? Easy. Always look for the side that has 2 seams on it, okay? Or 3 pieces, if you will. Look at these other sides. There's only 1 seam here. There's only 1 seam here. There's no seams here. The side you always want to add your first strip to when making a traditional block is the side with 2 seams. Okay, let's add our light. We're going to stitch down here and then flip it open and press. Here it is, flipped open and pressed. And now we're going to add our next light. Again, going in a clockwise direction. Sew and press open. Here it is, sewn and pressed open. Now it's time to add your dark on this side over here. Rotate, add your strip, sew, and press open. All right, so now that you've added your second round of dark, your second, let's not stand, press that open there. Now that you've added your 2 lights and 1 of your darks, you're going to add your second dark. Okay, you're going to stitch down your seam and press open. Once you do that, you're going to continue with what you've done before. Sew 4 logs, trim. Now you've added 4 logs, you're ready to trim. You're not going to start adding another log. So if it's helpful for you to lay out 4 logs, sew all 4 logs and then trim, that maybe will help you remember. It doesn't matter also if you start trimming from this side or from this side, it doesn't matter. As long as you trim 2 sides and then go back and trim the other 2 sides. So we're on round 2. Remember, we had 1 round of logs and the second round of logs. So here we're on round 2. So we're going to line up round 2 on the center square. We're going to line up our other things and we're going to trim, okay? We're going to spin our block around and trim the other 2 sides. This will always give you a straight side, a squared up side. It keeps everything in alignment. Many customers of Creative Grids will testify to the fact that this just makes log cabin blocks a breeze and they come out so perfect. So here you are with round 2 completed. Now we're going to go on to round 3. You think you know where you start with round 3? Of course, it's going to be on the side with your 2 seams. So simple. Are you ready to go through this? Let's go. Here is your trimmed block. Here we're going to go with round 3. We're going to add a light and stitch it down. Then we're going to add another light and stitch it down, press it open. We're going to add our 2 darks, okay, just the same as we did before. And now we're ready to trim round 3. Round 3 is round 3 on the ruler. So let's line up our seam lines. Let's line up our center square. Now, if things don't match exactly, look, this is off air. You have the option of turning it just a little bit. You decide how you want it centered. But if you're really off on your lines and it's not lining up a lot, check your 1/4 inch seam. Adjust your 1/4 inch seam to be accurate and then it will line up exactly on here when you sew. So let's trim our other 2 sides. And we're going to spin it around and trim our other 2 sides. This is so easy and so addictive once you actually get started. Once you actually get going on these, it's so much fun. Okay, We are ready for the fourth and final round. So here is round 3. Again, we have our, see, you've got your center and then 1, 2, 3. If you leave and you come back and you forget where you are, center, 1, 2, 3, okay? So we're on our 4th round. Here's your 2 seams. Let's add our light. We're gonna add another light. Let's keep going. Now that we've got our 2 lights added on here, we rotate our block. We add our dark, press it open. We're going to add another dark. And then here we are with all of our round 4 logs added, and we're ready to trim. Now, here's something we want you to notice, because this will make a perfect 10-inch block, okay? So what we're going to do is line up our seams. Now instead of just, but you still can do this, you still can trim 2 sides, or what you can do is spin your mat, spin your entire block and ruler around, trim on all 4 sides, and you have a perfect 10-inch block. So you know what this means. You can get together with a bunch of your friends using this ruler. Everybody's blocks come out perfect, and they all come out the exact same size. So get your friends together, use a bunch of your scraps, make some quilts, and then be rest assured that all of your blocks are going to join together because they're all perfectly the same size. Have fun, show us what you made, and look for more tutorials. Thanks a bunch.